Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Wow, what a series finale this was in Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 10. The Last Generation was its title. And wow, it hit all the notes. I was really hoping that this series finale would not disappoint, and it did not in any way disappoint. We had some great moments of action, excitement, suspense, some really heartfelt moments with our crew and some moments together with them that, you know, brought a lump to our throat and a tear to our eye. It really was the perfect series finale. What a great episode this was. And in this video, we're going to talk about everything that went down in episode 10, all those moments in the story that, you know, had us cheering, you know, some references in there to other sci-fi stuff, and a few homages as well, I noticed, which was pretty cool. This episode has a lot to break down and talk about, and that's what we're going to discuss today in our breakdown of Season 3, Episode 10, The Last Generation of Star Trek Picard series finale. The episode starts with a bit of a homage to the Next Generation title sequence. The nebula and the clouds here, right out of the Next Generation opening title sequence. And next we get a very surprising cameo appearance. In voice, not what I expected at all, but very welcome, of course. And that was from Federation President Anton Chekhov, the son of Pavel Chekhov from the original series. And he was basically giving a warning message, or a message on a warning beacon for no one to approach Earth and everything, and that Starfleet's been compromised. It was kind of cool to hear this this message coming from, you know, from the mouth of Walter Koenig, doing a descendant of Chekhov. Although because he wasn't doing the Russian accent, it sounded more to me like Bester from Babylon 5. Those of you who are Babylon 5 fans, obviously Walter Koenig played the psychop Bester for many years throughout the run of B5. And obviously once you take the Russian accent away from Walter Koenig, to me it's just like, oh, it's Bester. But yeah, it was cool to see. And also I did notice that the character's name, Anton Chekhov, obviously a homage to Anton Yelchin, the young actor who played Chekhov in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek feature films that was tragically killed after the third film. A bit of a homage to Anton Yelchin there. It was also interesting to note that the going to warp effects during this scene, you can see the stars moving through the galaxy like they did back in Next Generation days, not this updated visual effect where they're passing through a light-filled blue tunnel. So I guess that's a reflection of the updates in warp technology, and probably they're using some sort of new quantum slipstream warp drive or something to that effect maybe. Now we find out that the Borg cube is hiding in the gaseous layers of Jupiter, and it's the job of the Enterprise crew to work out how they're going to shut this signal down, because obviously all of Starfleet's been compromised, all of the ships have been taken over. Only way they're going to thwart the Borg is to somehow switch off this command signal that the big Borg cube is transmitting. And in this opening shot, the camera pulls back to reveal probably one of the biggest Borg cubes we've ever seen. The Borg cubes are always quite formidable in their size comparison to the Enterprise D, but when this one pulled back and we just saw how big it was in comparison to the D, wow, this is a bloody big Borg cube with a lot of antenna arrays and everything on it. So obviously this cube is the one that's sending out all the signals, doing all the broadcasting to sway the younger members of Starfleet to work for the Borg. And there's a pretty epic space dock attack. We've got almost all of these Federation starships, phasers lit up, photon torpedoes being launched at the space dock. And I've got to admit, the space dock can withstand one hell of a punch. With all these ships firing at it, it seemed to stand up for quite some time before it fell. There was a lot of firepower going against this space dock, so it must have some pretty impressive shields on it. Back on the Titan, we're seeing obviously Seven and Raffi and co on the hunt to try to retake the Titan, which they managed to do by, it seems like they've jury-rigged some sort of transport enhancers to the phasers, so when they shoot the younger Borgified crew members, they basically end up back in the transporter room, which they've locked down as a kind of a makeshift brig. So they're able to retake the bridge, and I kind of like the inexperienced crewman who isn't quite very sure of himself. His job is not one that normally puts him in any kind of danger or in any kind of position of power. So he's a bit nervous about taking the helm in this environment, and Seven kind of says, you'll be right. Just, remember your training. You've got it. I wasn't sure whether he was meant to be a Packlet or something, because he seemed a little bit slow, and the makeup sort of slightly resembled Packlet. So I wonder whether, this crew member was in fact a little bit slightly more, I don't know, simple Packlet crew member, perhaps. Back on the Enterprise D, we got Deanna doing her telepathic thing, sensing Jack on board the cube. It's kind of cool to see Deanna doing her sensing thing where she's trying to work out what's going on and everything. We obviously had a lot of that on Next Generation, and it's always nice to see these little moments, these little beats, character beats, where we sort of see characters doing their thing from back in the day, and it is quite nostalgic. To work out their mission, they have to sever this connection that's going on between obviously Jack and the cube, and then the cube transmitting to the rest of the fleet. Now I love the moment when they work out they have to they have to split up. We've got to have one team board the Borg cube to take out the transmission and rescue Jack at the same time, and we've got the other team staying on board the Enterprise D. I love it when Worf joins Riker and Picard and says, so I will join and make a threesome, and Riker says, and do you even hear yourself, you hear these words coming out of your mouth. I love these moments of levity in the season. They really, really add that extra bit of personality to each of our cast members, where we get, serious moments of tension and suspense, but we also get these little light-hearted moments as well, and it makes for such a great recipe. So it's good to see, Geordi take command. He gets the captain's chair. Data's obviously at his station. We've got Beverly on weapons and Deanna in her normal spot, whilst Jean-Luc goes off to find Jack, and Worf and Riker try to disable the transmission to disable that. And obviously we see here as well that since the end of Star Trek Voyager, where future Janeway planted that virus into the Borg collective, the Borg have not been particularly healthy. There's a lot of dead drones on board the ship. There's obviously been some virus infection there, which has kind of eaten through them and everything. So it appears that whatever Janeway and co did to the Borg back at the end of Voyager, it obviously has spread in like a cancer throughout the collective, and we're not seeing very many healthy looking Borg on this ship at all. They're all a bit crippled. There's a lovely moment of sort of farewell where Jean-Luc goes off to try to rescue Jack, and we've got Worf and Riker going off to do their thing, and just these little moments where they sort of say, it's been a pleasure serving with you, and obviously Jean-Luc and everything did that on the bridge as well when they left the Enterprise. These moments of, being honoured to serve with everybody, these little character moments that leave such a lump in your throat, just hearing the way they talk about each other with such reverence, and all the history they've got behind them. They're really kind of touching, heartfelt moments, and they play out really nicely. We finally find Jack on board the Borg cube there. He's pretty much been assimilated. I noticed the costume that they've got Jack in as the voice of the Borg, much like Jean-Luc was when he became Locutus, was very similar in look and style. The costume was very, very similar, right down to the way the headpiece with the red laser and everything was on his face. That was all very reminiscent of Locutus. So they've obviously done a really interesting job there in terms of his costume as a Borg to very similarly match what Jean-Luc looked like as Locutus back in the Best of Both Worlds episodes. And we finally see the face of the Borg Queen, and yeah, she's not looking too healthy. Borg Queen obviously voiced by Alice Krige, although I don't believe the actress who played the Borg Queen in this episode was Alice Krige. I think it might have been a body double, but they've just revoiced the character, because obviously there's a lot of, decaying skin, and everything kind of looked very kind of like it had been infected, or, not a healthy Borg Queen, not like she looked in First Contact, but they just used Alice Kriege's voice to voice the character, which in this context I think worked fine. Meanwhile, the Titans, doing some attack runs along all the Federation starships, get them to distract them enough to stop firing on the space dock, because they've got to slow them down, so they're using the cloaking device implemented a few episodes back from the bird of prey they got from the Fleet Museum to do a couple of attack runs along the line of starships, trying to kind of distract them enough so that they slows down their attack on the space dock. These are all really exciting action sequences. I love some of the action in this episode. We've got some really cool space combat sequences here, which are done really, really well. And we find out from the Borg Queen that assimilation is no longer the goal of the Borg. It's to evolve using the biological componentry that obviously is within Jack, to evolve the Borg biologically, not using technology, and Jack being the key to that. We get a bit of cool hand-to-hand combat action with Worf fighting the Borg with his Kurleth, his weapon there. And I love the moment where Worf sort of gets hit a couple of times with a phaser, and Riker goes to use the sword, and it drops to the ground, and it's got, geez, I had no idea how heavy this bloody thing was. So, Worf just sort of wields it effortlessly. Again, these moments of levity play it really well. I love the moment where the Enterprise D is sort of doing an attack run along the surface of the Borg cube there, firing phasers and photon torpedoes and Beverly's at the weapons console. And it's a really big moment, and obviously, Geordie's not quite confident that as a doctor, she has the sort of necessary tactical experience with this, but she's skimming along the surface and firing photons and firing phases and everything, and we get the TNG fanfare, which is just a great moment in the episode. And then they got to look to Beverly as if to go, hey, where the hell did you learn all this tactical skills from? And she sort of, says, hey, a lot has happened in the last 20 years. So obviously what she's been doing with her Doctors Without Borders thing has taught her a bit more about the tactical systems on a starship. So good on you, Bev, for saving the day there at the tactical console. Great moment. Back on the Borg Q, obviously, with Riker and Worf fighting against the Borg drones and everything. I love the bit where Worf pulls out from the back of his sword the fact that it has kind of a phaser built into the handle of the sword as well. And it's like, Will says to him, like, what the hell? Like, you've had a phaser in this sword the whole time? Like, which you could have used at any moment? And Worf just says, swords are fun. It's like, yeah, that's about right. That's a typical Klingon kind of response. And soon we find out that obviously the bit that they need to destroy to disable the signal from the Borg cube is located right at the very heart of the Borg cube, and it's going to be almost impossible to get to this to destroy. But Data, he is now going to use his gut. With all his skills, he's going to do what they deem as being almost impossible, and that's navigate the superstructure of the Borg cube to get to the heart of the Borg cube to destroy this device that's basically transmitting throughout the galaxy. Can anybody say Return of the Jedi? In this moment, it's like, oh yeah, the Millennium Falcon flying through the superstructure of the Death Star to destroy the power core at the center of the Death Star before they had to sort of, race out as a fireball chased them out the back end of the Death Star. Except the Death Star's round and the Borg cube's a big square. So all they needed was to go, yeah, from Geordie or something, much like Lando did. A really huge homage to what Lando and the Millennium Falcon crew had to do in Return of the Jedi. Pretty epic sequence though, like the Enterprise D ducking and weaving through all of the internal superstructure of the Borg cube while it's being fired upon by the Borg and everything. Even though it was a bit of a homage there to Star Wars, I guess, it was still pretty exciting stuff. Meanwhile, the fleet of assimilated Federation starships have basically taken down the space dock. It's left Earth undefended, so the planetary shields have now come down. All of the starships have focused their attention on Earth. The cloaking system on the Titan has been taken out as well by the assimilated crew members who have managed to escape from the transporter room. We get some nice character stuff where obviously Jean-Luc's trying to talk Jack down off the proverbial ledge, plug himself in to the collective in order to try to sway Jack into coming back to the light. Jean-Luc pleading to his son. Some really heartfelt moments here, regain that sense of humanity again. It was quite heartfelt, and also the fact that he offered to stay with him and everything, just that sacrifice and everything swayed Jack, and he was broken out of the Borg spell. They fire on the beacon, it's destroyed, the Borg cube starts to explode from the inside out. We've got the Enterprise D having to kind of make a quick exit before the whole thing blows up around them, beaming out Riker and Worf and Jean-Luc and Jack and everything at the same time before they exit the big exploding Borg cube. And as soon as the Borg cube is destroyed, obviously that breaks the spell on all of our younger assimilated crew members on board all the Federation starships, so they automatically revert to normal. The Starfleet is safe once more. And there's some really nice heartfelt scenes that brought a lump to my throat and a bit of a tear to my eye when watching this episode with, coming back onto the Enterprise D bridge. We've got Beverly and Jack, sharing an embrace, Will and Deanna having these little moments together. We've got, Data and Geordi, and then they're joined by Worf. And I love the moment. Poor old Worf, he's just completely knackered out. He's so exhausted from fighting off Borg and everything. He just collapses into a chair and starts to have a bit of a snooze. That was quite a funny moment there. I love that bit. Meanwhile, it seems like all of the transporter systems are purged of the biological virus thing that the changelings planted, so that's all been rectified. Dr. Crush has been promoted to Admiral. She's obviously been heading up that. We obviously get the return of Tuvok. We kind of knew Tuvok was coming back in our last episode because Tim Russ did say he was in 2 episodes this season, but he's come as more of a admin kind of position to talk to Seven about her choices and everything that has happened in the course of the season. And Seven thinks that she's kind of being chewed out and is probably going to be sacked, but that's not the case at all. We see a holographic message recorded from Captain Shaw, which was pretty much, recommending Seven to be made captain. So even though there was a bit of animosity between Shaw and Seven, he obviously had a great respect for her in the end. And I really loved this moment. I loved the fact that we got a last comment from Shaw, because obviously Shaw died in the last episode. But yeah, to have him come back just one more time in the context of this recorded message, just to endorse Seven as a captain. Really nice moment here. Really nice moment. I think Shaw's a great character, and I'm so sad that he got killed off in this season. I would have really loved to have him stick around and be part of the crew. And it was quite a heartfelt moment, I thought, when Tuvok says to Seven, resignation denied. We're going to make a captain out of you because we know you're going to do a good job of it. We get a really nice scene between Raffi and Worf. They've obviously had a really nice relationship this season with all the stuff they had going on, hunting down the changelings and everything at the beginning of the season. And just to have this last moment between these two characters who obviously formed quite a bond, a sense of, farewell and everything. And the fact that Worf's not a hugger, but he gave Raffi a hug. That's saying something, I think. We get a nice scene between Data and Troy, obviously. Data's been having some counselling sessions with Troy, going into his emotions, and obviously he's a little bit of a different android now, that he's got all of these incorporated personalities within him. Not to unpack there. And I kind of feel like he's monopolising poor old Deanna's time quite a bit, because she seemed to sort of, roll her eyes a little bit a few times, like, oh my God, he's having sessions every day with her. Like, that seems quite a lot, and each session is going overtime. And then sort of Will at the end of the scene asks Data, is he okay? And Data says, yeah, Data's okay. He's good. He's doing all right. Even though Will might think he's a bit batshit crazy still, to Troy's disgust. We do a bit of a time jump now to 1 year later, where we see the Enterprise D on display at the Fleet Museum, taking pride of place amongst the other historical starships there. We've got Riker and Picard and Geordi on the bridge, having a bit of a reminisce, talking about how important everybody is and how the ship is and everything. And there's a really nice scene here between these three characters, just saying our last kind of farewells to the Enterprise D. And I like the moment when Riker obviously says he misses the computer voice. Great that we had Majel Barrett, doing the voice, even though she's passed away. Obviously they either took lines from previous episodes, or maybe they used some sort of AI deep fake type voice changing technology to replicate her voice in these scenes. But whatever they used, it sounded great. It seems that whatever punishment the space dock took against all of the fleet of assimilated starships, it only took them a year to kind of repair and rebuild, because it would seem that the space dock is back up and running and it's all pretty much fully operational again. So obviously it wasn't completely destroyed. It was probably badly damaged, and it's taken them a year to do all the repairs. We also find out it's Jack's first posting to a Starfleet vessel. He's in Starfleet now, which we kind of thought might be the case based on his involvement during the course of the season, and that obviously his tenure through Starfleet Academy has kind of been fast-tracked. He kind of says, it's a bit of nepotism, perhaps, who his mum and dad are. He's sort of just been rushed through the process a little bit, and we kind of knew that he was going to end up back on the Titan, or what we thought was going to be the Titan, but the Titan has been rebranded in honour of, the Enterprise crew and everything, and saving the day on the D. The Enterprise is clearly the flavour of the month because they've decided to rebrand the Titan the Enterprise G. We never really got to see the Enterprise F, really, because the Enterprise F did a bit of a flyby with Shelby last episode. And obviously has now been decommissioned, and the Titan has been rebranded Enterprise. So we're flying through those Enterprise letters. Obviously, Seven is our captain. Raffi is the first officer. All of our other crew members are in their positions with, Sidney LaForge and Lieutenant Mura and everything. Back on the bridge again. And it appears that the position that Jack's fulfilling is kind of a captain's counselor type role. So he's sort of sitting in what it was Deanna Troy's kind of seat, Sort of an interesting position for Jack, but let's go with it. I thought maybe he might have been better suited to like a chief of security or something like that, perhaps. I love the pressure that the crew puts on Seven to, come up with her go to warp line. Everyone's saying, what's it going to be? Is it going to be engage? Is it going to be, hit it or whatever? Let's go. Let's fly. Everyone's got their little go to warp expression. Everyone's kind of looking at Seven to say, okay, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And she opens her mouth and we just cut to the exterior and off they go. So I think that was great. The fact that we never kind of quite got to find out what that line was and just leaves it up to our imagination. So that was a little cool moment. Meanwhile, all of our Enterprise crew members are at Guinan's bar having drinks. Everyone's reminiscing and having a good time. It was really great, this ending, to see all of our crew members. They're talking about stuff and they're catching up for drinks. Data goes to do the toast and he obviously starts to tell the woman from Venus or whatever limerick that I think he started telling this limerick, the woman from Venus limerick, but he never finished it and he never got to finish it in this episode either. So that was a cool little hark back moment to Data's limerick in that past episode. And obviously Picard gives a big rousing kind of speech and quotes Shakespeare or quotes some passage from one of his novels that he is so true to his heart. That was a really nice moment, seeing all of our crew listening to Jean-Luc give the toast. And we end with the poker game, the traditional TNG style poker game. For many years they played poker on the Enterprise. It was only in that last episode of All Good Things that Picard ended up joining the crew for poker. But just seeing them all sitting around the table, having fun, playing poker again. And our last camera shot, almost identical to the All Good Things finale, the camera shot that just rose up over the top of the table, replicating that exact same shot that we saw from All Good Things in this episode as they all enjoyed themselves playing poker. Lovely homage to our last episode of Next Generation. So, yeah, look, really perfect finale episode. I think it hit all the notes, hit us in the heart, exciting action. What more could you ask for? But wait, there's a post-credit scene where we finally get to see a little bit of a moment there with Jack on board the Enterprise G. He's in his quarters and Q appears to him. Oh my God, what a surprise this was. I actually vaguely remember, now that I come to think of it, back when they were doing season 2, that John Delancey did make some reference to the fact that he had shot one scene for season 3 or something. So that's right. He did say that, back a year or so ago when season 2 was on. The trial for humanity and, Q bothering Picard has ended. His trial has ended, but Jack's journey is just beginning, according to Q. So that was a really, really cool question mark ending to the series. Just, what's going on here? Are we going to get to see what's going on with the Enterprise G? Seven as captain. We've got Q hassling Jack rather than Jean-Luc now. It asks a lot of questions, and a lot of questions we want to hear the answers for. So what a great finale episode this was for Star Trek Picard Season 3, hitting all the notes we wanted to, and leaving the show open to what could be the next Star Trek series, Star Trek Legacy, which is the new show that Terry Matalas wants to bring to us. I think it's no doubt at all that this season of Star Trek Picard has been some of the best Star Trek we've had for many, many years, and I think we want to see that continue. If you want to help there's a petition going on. The guys at the Popcast started a petition a few weeks back, which has already got like 20,000 signatures or something on it. But if you're really keen to get Terry Matalas behind the next Star Trek series, Star Trek Legacy, which I guess will feature the journeys of the Starship Enterprise G under the command of Captain Seven, and continue where Picard season 3 has sort of finished. Make sure I'll put the link in the description. Make sure you click on that, sign the petition, because let's face it, this season of Picard has just been mind-blowing. Best Star Trek for years, and my hat is off to Terry Matalas and his crew for bringing to us really what's been an amazing season of excitement, action, adventure, heartfelt moments that have brought a tear to our eye and a lump to our throat, and that has really been a really outstanding last journey of the crew of the Starship Enterprise D and all of our legacy characters from Next Generation. Loved every minute of it, and I'm really sad it's the last season. But hopefully we'll get a new show. We'll get a new show that continues where it left off. That's my hope. The powers that be at Paramount and CBS see the value that Terry's brought to Star Trek with this season, and give him a job show running the next great Star Trek series. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics, please do so. Click on that big subscribe button to stay current and up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. Really appreciate it. And also, don't forget to like and comment on this video. Let me know what your thoughts were on the series finale of Star Trek Picard Season 3. Leave a super thanks if you're able to. That really helps the channel out. Appreciate all of your support there for the channel. And also, please check out my merch store, where there's all manner of cool t-shirts like this one, hoodies and mugs and caps and everything like that. And there's also a 20% off sale. So from the 23rd to the 26th of April, if you have a look at the merch store, then you can get 20% off. So be sure to check that out as well. We'll obviously be getting Star Trek Strange New Worlds coming up in June. So I guess we'll probably end up starting to talk a bit more about what we've got coming up in Strange New Worlds. I hope you loved Star Trek Picard Season 3 as much as I did. And I'll see you very soon with my next video. Catch you then.